a smooth jazz Earth, Wind and Fire cover record. Yeah, dude, years ago. It gave such a bad, in my opinion, a bad reputation to jazz musicians who wanted to play pop songs. I'm very, very confident about those things, but everything else is kind of fucked. My God, you looked that shit up?
I didn't look it up specifically, but I did find it. Neil Carson is a Chicago sax player, composer, and arranger who leads the 9-person band New Nostalgia. We talk coming out of the college music world, what makes the group a cut above the typical pops orchestra, his love of the nonet configuration, how it can be lonely being an artist in the big city, and his short-lived rap group with his twin brother in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Right here and more on Blue Collar Jazz. But yeah, Neil Carson, welcome to the show. Let me say this. You are the first person I've interviewed in about probably 7 to 8 years. You're also the first. New Nostalgia at Andy's, that one Saturday, the 15th, was the first, not the first jazz show I've been to. Since that time, but the first one I was actually like on assignment or whatever, actually like concertedly with the camera and the notepad and everything and like taking notes and stuff. So thank you for being the artist at the right time, at the right place to kind of bring me back into it. Couldn't have chosen a better band.
Dude, it's my pleasure, man. I'm so glad that you were there, and thanks for hanging with us, and way to get back on the horse, dude. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I feel this is like I'm used to like some talk show setting, not like famously just like a friend stream with like 2 people. So it's because I got some radio friends, so we're usually used to like intros and outros. This is all pre-recorded, of course. None of it's live. And so it's like I feel like I should get like your version of Everybody Wants to Rule the World has like it's such a swinging version, and it's got like a perfect like the first 30 seconds are this awesome. Like it's got that late night show feel to it. Like you could introduce a guest to that tune, to that.
Yeah,
version.
Man. Yeah. No, you got to be on the lookout for good podcast intro music.
Yeah, 100%. So what, is it safe to say like those kind of 80s songs, that's what you grew up with? Because you were pulling out all sorts of 80s tunes. Tears for Fears, Yazoo. A lot of them I'm not even too familiar with myself. A number of them, like Tears for Fears, for instance. I love Tears for Fears. But yeah, is that the stuff you grew up with?
Man, not.
Or you just fell into it later. Not
time. Especially. Yeah, I fell into it later. I fell into 80s music really in college. Yeah, I don't know exactly why, but I think when I was like 23 or 24 in grad school, you know what? I had just had 4 years of undergraduate jazz education at University of Miami in Florida. And
Frost school?
Yeah, Frost, yeah. And I like had gone, deep into like the jazz rabbit hole, and I had been nerding out with all of my friends, and I had been in that bubble. And then I think when I went to grad school, I think I've always been a little contrarian, but I definitely like kind of rebelled against the jazz culture,
sure.
And I mean, one song I have always loved, like for my entire life since I first heard it, is "In Your Eyes" by Peter Gabriel. Do you know that song?
I'm familiar with it. I actually did some research on your stuff, and I saw that the Frost School had your nonets at the time version up on YouTube.
Yeah,
really cool version.
Yeah, that nonet is the precursor to New Nostalgia. That's exactly what that band is. But yeah, I think something about the like 1980s sonics and like production of like synthesizers and like processed drums and synth basses and like lots of washy reverbs. Something about that whole thing. I feel like I was nostalgic for it, even though I wasn't even alive. You know, I was born in
I feel that.
I was born in 1991, and so like, yeah, it's just it was this feeling. I always say when people ask me, like, I like to ask this question as like a fun game with friends, is like, if you could pick any time to be alive, any year, and also pick your age during that time, what would it be? And my answer is always like 1987 high school. I would want to have been in high school in like 1987, you know? And there's just something about, I mean, I love John Hughes movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and 16 Candles. And so the whole 80s teen thing, just, I don't know, it all kind of, I really can't describe it. I just fell in love with it. And, you know, funny enough, now I'm kind of like, I'm over it a little bit, actually.
Yeah, I'm
like, yeah, now I'm kind of more into what I grew up with, which is like the year I really started paying attention to music would have been like 1999, I think. And that would have been around then. Third Eye Blind was on the radio, Vertical Horizon, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, you know.
Yeah, it actually tracks really well with what I was growing up with, which was more 60s and 70s stuff, which is what my dad introduced me to. So a lot of like America, John Denver, a lot. Oh my God. I'm blanking. I've got a name, operator. You know what I'm talking about, right? Bad Boy Leroy Brown.
Oh, Jim Croce.
Jim Croce. Thank you. Yes. Jim Croce. One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like, it's only like in the past 10 years have been like, oh yeah, no, there was some cool stuff happening when I was in high school, by the way, when I was in.
Oh yeah, dude. Exactly. It's yeah. What year were you born?
94. So we're actually not that far apart at all.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But, yeah, I was really into 80s stuff for a long time. And I think that, I don't know, like this idea started brewing in me in grad school. Actually, like New Nostalgia started as a graduate school project. For my final project, I had this idea of like, I wanted to investigate arranging pop music for basically for a jazz band, but specifically for like nonet, for like five horns, because I had never written for like that medium sized ensemble.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would be a good way to like explore that. And I, you know, when I think about pop songs done in a jazz setting, especially like more recent stuff, like not like old American songbook standards, but like Human Nature, Michael Jackson, or anything like that. It's always like a smooth jazz rendition where it's just like a saxophone just playing the melody, you know? And, you know, like Michael Jackson's voice has so much life to it. Reaching out, na, 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 like so much lyricism, so much singability. And on the saxophone, people just go, ba, ba, ba.
It's like the novelty is, oh, it's on a saxophone, and that's like the whole bit.
Yeah. And it's just like, I always felt like that gave such a bad, in my opinion, a bad reputation to jazz musicians who wanted to play pop songs. You know, it's like, dude, like be more melodic about it, or more thoughtful about how you present these amazing melodies originally written for the voice, but when you do it instrumentally, how like you have to kind of massage it to make it work. I don't know if that makes sense. You know?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Any other singers, any other vocalists that like you think like, hey, this translates a certain way, I think, to horn or in an arrangement that just doesn't get the same respect in those arrangements?
Well, I'm thinking about, I remember one song, Time After Time, Cyndi Lauper.
That's
the melody. Yeah. So the melody of the verse, lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you, caught up in circles, confusion is nothing new. So it's really just like a couple notes. Ba ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba ba da.
It's almost like Mr. Brightside, where it's like just this like short range.
Mr. Brightside is a fantastic example too. Yeah. So it's like, I was like, I love this song time after time, but if I just play da 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 on the saxophone, it's going to be really bland because you don't have lyrics anymore.
Right.
The lyrics like drive the story forward. So I was like, that's what this project was. That's what New Nostalgia was, is like me trying to figure out how to do this stuff in an instrumental context. So for me, that meant changing the melody a little bit. It meant arranging it. So like, beta, boo-doo-dee-da, ba-ba-doo-da, boo-we-da-dee-da, you know, like kind of like giving it some shape so that it's like, it makes sense, you know? So that's kind of how it started. And so I arranged 4 songs originally, Time After Time, Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And then the 5th one was an original called Eat My Shorts, which is a lyric from, from Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's kind of how it started. And originally we were only 80s, but now it's
nostalgia. So like you can do anything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think early on we were pegged as like just an 80s band, you know, and now I'm trying to do 2 things. I'm trying to like do more covers of 90s, 2000s, 70s, just kind of whatever, you know, and I'm trying to like remind people like we're not just a cover band, like we do original, you know. So I'm kind of having to like reshape our reputation a little bit, you know.
Yeah, and I think the Frankenstein Sessions EP is definitely going a long way because that's all original, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you were showcasing some of that in the 80s.
Thanks for checking out all the stuff, man. It's really sweet to know that, you know, that you're listening.
It's a sound like the arrangements, like you have a love affair with nonets. I've noticed, I was listening to the Indecent Exposure episode you did, which is a music podcast. I think it ended now. I think the host of that podcast is still playing. He's still gigging. Still got a very active Instagram page. Yeah, Kevin McMahon. But I think he had to put a pause on the podcast, I think. But either way, I listened to that episode and it was a really awesome episode. And that was like a 90-minute one. And the 2 things I remember was you guys talked about Steely Dan for like 40 minutes, which is awesome. But then you also said like if you could host like a nonet festival in the city. And it's like, damn, you really like those 9 instruments in that arrangement.
Yeah, I do like that instrumentation. It's, as a band leader, I think big band is really cool. Mm-hmm. You know, the power of like 15, 16 musicians, it's amazing. And there's so much tradition. Yeah. Basie, Ellington, all that stuff. But it's like, so it's so financially unfeasible. You know? Dude, you just like these gigs, like they pay $50 maximum, you know? And
really?
And like yeah,
because you got to really diffuse the cash. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, you know, a friend of mine called me for a recording session, which is going to be 4 hours of work in the studio, and it pays $50. And I'm like, that sucks, but I'm going to do it because I know it's a passion project for you, and I understand that. But the nonet, I think you can get a lot of that same power from just 9 people, from just 5 horns. And there's tons of other nonets in Chicago. There's Sam Pilnick's nonet. They released the Adler Suite a couple of years ago, which is a totally different vibe. Emily Kuhn's Helios Ensemble, which I think it's like string quartet and rhythm section. So it's actually a totally different thing.
Sure. John
Rarick's got a nonet, which is very different vibes, you know? So like it's same instrumentation, lots of different approaches, you know?
That's awesome. The only one I was really familiar with was the Chicago Yes Tet, led by Joel Adams. And
yeah.
I mean, they're all-star groups, I'm sure, but like that one in particular, they hit so hard. It sucks because like the one album that I love the most from them, they just released one in 2020. It's relatively recent. They've been at it.
I haven't heard that. I got to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They got like a 15-minute suite on like on the shit that was going down in 2020, right? But the one before that, Just Say Yes. Oh, In the Here and the Now is one of my favorite tunes, and it's not on Spotify, which I know a lot of musicians got good and bad, or not good and bad opinions, but rather opinions on streaming overall, which I totally respect, and which means you have to buy the CDs.
Yeah.
But that Yes Tat is the only one that I really know of today that's still around in the city. And then the only other one I know is Miles Davis from Birth of the Cool. So that sound is clearly something that you love, and a lot of people need to get on. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you play, by the way?
I was in vocal jazz in college, and then I do like backing track piano for like a swing dance band also during college. So I'm familiar with music. And
where'd you go to college?
Minored in broadcast in radio. So it was
where'd you go?
North Central College. I spent my whole life in my blog is jazz exploration in Chicago. Lives in the suburbs. This was my life.
Okay.
One day.
Dude, I think it's great. I think it's great that you're, sinking your teeth into the Chicago music scene. Just in like the last year, less than that, I've actually really started going out to a lot of shows, a lot of local shows at like Golden Dagger, formerly Tonic Room, Sleeping Village. Fulton Street Collective is a place I've always liked to go. And like really like just through that process, I mean, it's exhausting. It's exhausting going out to shows all the time, as I'm sure you know. But like that process has taught me like, fuck, man, I felt so lonely before, like kind of like doing my own thing and like hoping that people cared about my music and feeling like they didn't, and like, but like when I see everybody else out like grinding away at what they care about in the same way, it's a comforting feeling. It's like I'm not alone in feeling how hard this is, and and I know that if I go out and support, I'm going to get that support back, like New Nostalgia did a show at Sleeping Village earlier in April, and leading up to it, like a month out, I probably went to like about 3 shows a week, 3 or 4 shows a week, sometimes more than one in a night. And I met so many people and heard so much great music, and like really felt a part of a community in a way I never had. I told a bunch of fucking people about the show, and they came out, and we got 100 people out. So like, that's, you got to fucking pound the pavement, Yeah, that was a really good learning experience.
One thing that's just amazed me, I shouldn't be surprised, but it's still like something to awe at, is just how tight knit the jazz community, really just the musician community, but particularly the jazz community is here in Chicago. I've heard, even though Chicago is like the 3rd largest city in the U.S., I've heard it described as like a city of neighborhoods, which is technically every city, but particularly in Chicago. And it really reflects the musicianship base, because if you see one, you'll see that player sometimes, if they're active enough, even semi-active, you'll see them a couple more times in other people's Instagram feeds and other people's gigs. It's like, oh yeah, Dustin Lorenzi, you're in like 5 different groups, including the one with your wife. So it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I am. I haven't checked out Twin Talk, so I gotta check them out for sure.
Yeah, they're cool, more free stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. That's a really comforting feeling. That's how I feel about Fulton Street Collective. Have you been there?
Yes, a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the point like where I've played there enough times myself and seen enough shows there that like when I walk in, I know I'm going to recognize people, and it definitely feels like a home away from home for sure. It's like they do the shot table after each gig, after each show. And it's like, even if I didn't play, I know. Yeah. Chris Anderson and Jose Valle, they pull out a table and they just like pour shots for the band. But like, even when I'm not playing, I get a shot too, because I'm part of the community. I'm part of the hang. And, so that's a really nice feeling, because the city can feel really lonely. I don't know if you have felt that, but it can just like, I feel like there's, going back to what I was saying before, there's 2 ways as an artist who's trying to say something in a city as big as Chicago, there's two ways you can look at the grind. And one is like to feel like your shit doesn't matter. Who would care about what you're doing? Because everybody else is trying to do something. And, you know, what makes you so special that like people should care about your music and your art, you know, above others. And then there's the other side, which is like, dude, like our society doesn't reward art in the way that it should. And we have a responsibility to each other to like lift each other up. It's like, even if I don't like your music at your show, I should still, you know, you should still walk off stage and I give you a big hug and be like, yo, congratulations. It's been a pleasure to be here. I don't know exactly what I would say, you know?
Right.
Like just kind of like, you know, show support. So I'm trying to be more in that second camp, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that's actually one cool thing I liked about the jazz. I know there's a lot of jazz traditions which are like, okay, we can maybe not bring that forward. But one of them is clapping after every solo, which can feel a little robotic at times, but there is something actually really humanistic about it where it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't understand it. I didn't maybe even love it, or I didn't love it. I didn't even necessarily understand it, but you were clearly trying there. So we're gonna give you a round of applause. And the fact that it's embedded into the tradition now is, I think, really cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I've thought a lot about that. And it's funny because my identical twin brother, who I live with, is a classical musician. He plays in the Chicago Symphony. And so we're like two sides of a coin. I'm like the jazz side, he's the classical side. But we both have talked about how annoying it is that you're not allowed to clap between movements of a symphony.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like debate now where it's like, if I have, on the rare chance that I actually have time to see like a full movement or classical thing, the half of the room will be like, don't, you know, that's and then the other half is like, either they just genuinely don't know and they're just being supportive, or it's like your thing where it's like, yeah, I don't care. That was awesome.
Yeah, dude.
I love that ostinato.
Yeah, I think I support like, you know, the culture where like the music ended, let's clap for them. You know, that's the understanding that I have, you know, and Danny and I, my twin brother, and I both agree more broadly that like you should never alienate your listener with a bunch of rules, you know, rules that are not intuitive, you know? So I kind of feel like you shouldn't have to be silent between movements. And, you know, if you didn't like the solo, you shouldn't be pressured to clap, you know? I kind of feel like,
yeah.
But I get what you're saying too. It's tricky. It's what your priorities are, you know?
Well, I guess it's the honesty, right?
Yeah.
Going back to new nostalgia. Going back to new nostalgia for a second. How much of the current lineup did you know back at Frost, back in Miami?
They're all Chicago folks.
I was about to say, yeah. It's like, unless you all made a mass migration from Miami.
Yeah, no, none of them are from Miami. Yeah, I moved here in 2016, and one of the first people I met was the drummer, Zach Marks, and met him at a jam session. And and then I just when I first moved here, I didn't know how I was going to make money. So I was living at my parents, and I just like started playing weddings. I got some wedding gigs, and that's how I met a lot of musicians. And so I started calling those folks, and it's been the same lineup since like 2017. It's been that lineup. We did actually just get a new tenor player, so that's a change. But I'm super happy that we've had the consistency.
That's awesome. And it seems most of the band had gone to music school. I was reading all the bios there. I don't know if anyone in the band currently just never went to music school, or if you've ever worked with anyone that hasn't gone to music school, and if there's like any difference in how they play or how you communicate with them on the bandstand.
Yeah, absolutely. There's huge differences. I think that New Nostalgia's music relies so heavily on music school education. It really like it's all so carefully notated. There's lots of notation. There's lots of chord symbols. So if you're a piano player, guitar player, you have to be able to like, you know, interpret those. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be a technician of your instrument. It's like really demanding music. And it's like very precise. There's not a lot of like, let's just wing it and feel it out. Like,
Right.
that's not in there. That's something I want to bring into the music a little more. I want to like have more room for things to breathe. But, you know, I think that another change that I've undergone since going out to shows and meeting other people is like interacting with other communities, the quote unquote, like less trained or non-trained music community where people jam mostly by ear or by feel, you know, and it's a different vibe. You know, there's an infinite number of communities in the city that make music differently. And I've really had to check my like assumptions and check my privilege that like my way is the right way, you know?
Yeah. Because
there are musicians that amaze me. I can't do anything that they can do, and they can't do what I do. Like there's this drummer that subbed with New Nostalgia who he can read charts, but it's not his main thing. But he played the gig with us, and he showed up to rehearsal. He had memorized everything. He memorized New Nostalgia's music
because he's just got the ear and the you know the head space for it, where it's like, yeah, no, this is how I do it.
Yeah, man, it's an incredible thing, and I'm just like such like, it's like if I have a chart in front of me, I can do it. Like I can. So I just mad respect, you know, very different culture. You know?
Yeah, well, with some of those hits, especially if you're doing like familiar songs, when it's like, no, we're syncopating this. Like the 5/1, it's like the 4/1 vamp on "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." It's like, no, it's not bum bum, it's bada, and it's just like going off rote memory like that. Well, I mean, you shouldn't, you know, fall back to rote. You should be present in the music, but still, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. So, that's something I'm about to quit my day job, which is teaching high school. I'm a teacher at a high school up in the North Burbs, and it's not a full day job. It's like 2 days a week. Then I have
it's a source of income.
It's a source of income, a big source of income, and
that's a leap.
It's also like, yeah, it is a leap, dude. I'm trying to play. I want to like play and write music full time, not just with New Nostalgia, but start some other bands. I want to have a more like straight ahead jazz band. I want to write more of that music. I want to write music for other people. I want to do more recording and mixing. So I'm getting ready to like make that shift. And I forget why I brought this up, but I think part of that switch has been like, I need to meet more people. I need to meet more musicians and learn and network and like learn to make music with more types of people. You know, it's just that will make me more employable. It's realistically. So, yeah.
Without even being like a musician, I can absolutely relate because I've been to 3 shows in the past 2 weeks, and I want to do like articles and interviews and stuff with all of them, like I've done with you. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I already have a backlog with only 3 shows, and and it's like, I want to go to Hungry Brain this Saturday, but it's like, well, I mean, I'm still gonna, but it's like, I also want to do stuff with it, you know, cover it.
Yeah.
You know,
who's at the Brain on Saturday?
It's like, but sorry, what were you saying?
Who's playing the Brain on Saturday?
I don't know if it's multiple groups, but the one I really wanted to see was my friend Take. It looks like take. It's spelled take, but Take Yokoyama, not Yokohama, Yokoyama. And it's with the Mahjong Club. I've actually never seen that group specifically.
Never heard of
it. But he's someone that I hung out with because I got a lot of jazz friends from college, and he was one of them. He's a cool guy, and it's a couple of Japanese players. It's funny coming out of school, incoming to the school was like 3 Japanese players from like separate parts of Japan. I was like, this is awesome. This is great. And they're like half good at English, which is still better than my none of Japanese, but yeah, no, but they all kill, man. They're all awesome at what they do. And unfortunately, I think 2 of them had to go back to Japan. Not unfortunate, but the fact that we don't get to play with them anymore. We don't get to see them anymore. But I think Take is one of the last ones, I believe, from that specific group of 3.
Okay.
So that's really cool. But
yeah, man. Well,
yeah, I wanted to see them, and it's like I will see them, but like I want to do more with it. So the fact that you're taking that big plunge, it's like good luck to you, sir, because that's a big one.
Dude, thanks, man. Yeah, I have. If you want to get lost in the Chicago music scene, it's definitely there. You can get
not even jazz, just music in general.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
all
dude.
over.
You can so easily fill up your calendar by finding out at these shows. Like, talk to somebody. What are you seeing? What are you doing the rest of this week? What are you going to see? Oh shit, I'm going to go to that. That sounds cool. Meet somebody else there. So you can do that. The thing that is hard is like, dude, it's when I stop to think about how much money I'm spending just between cover charges and drinks. It's like I'm probably gonna write a good chunk of it off on my taxes, honestly, because it's like
yes, actually, you've got more of a reason than I do. Actually, no, I have a blog. So there we go.
Yeah, you totally have a reason. Yeah. But yeah, it is hard with balance, like life balance too, because I find I am neglecting my friends and my family relationships. It's tough.
I actually can also feel that too. But my wife is in grad school, so we're seeing less of each other anyways. But now that I'm actually going to the city more from being in the suburbs, which is like an extra hour, 45 minutes on travel time alone. That's Again, I'm not relating myself to a musician, but I can feel these struggles already. So I can't even imagine what it's like for someone who is going full time. So hats off to you and to any musician watching this who happens to be. That is the plunge, that is the dream, and that is the risk. So
yeah, dude, absolutely, definitely worth it. Learning a lot about myself. Yeah.
On the New Nostalgia website, I saw a number of I loved reading all the bios there, and I saw like on at least 3, if not more, they had all talked about video game music. And I don't know how much of that affected you in a similar way, but I do understand that you do arranging for the Blue Shift Big Band.
Yeah, that's right.
That listed. Yeah. Did you do anything for the recent video game album that they did? Yeah,
they put it out. Yeah, there's 2 on there that are mine. There's a song from Sonic called it's the Marble Zone theme.
Yeah.
And then also from Banjo-Kazooie, there's Treasure Trove Cove.
Nice.
Yeah.
That has absolutely blown up in the past, like 5 years at least, but definitely it had been building for more on
video game
on
jazz
YouTube.
Band?
Yeah,
man. Yeah, you're right. There's a shit ton of it out there. Yeah. Which is cool, I mean, I didn't play a ton of video games growing up, but I know a lot of people did. And dude, like I think that's really resourceful for jazz bands to like be relevant. Let's not fucking play Autumn Leaves for the 500th time. No disrespect to that music.
No, none at all. But right. Like, specifically Autumn Leaves. I respect the tune. I do. I think it is a beautiful melody. But goddamn, if I have to hear that one more time, at least one more time in the standard way, if they don't zhuzh it up, then I'm gonna politely clap. Politely
totally.
Clap. But yeah, that's awesome. And I also understand that you're like any jazz musician, you're a part of all sorts of groups. I also believe that you are part of a rap group led by your twin brother Dan called TheBodyPaty.
Oh my God, you looked that shit up.
I didn't look it up specifically, but I did find it. Entertaining such groundbreaking lyrics like "Big friends and bodies know just how to get down, like the shit, like the shit, like the shit."
Big friends and bodies Big present bodies know just how to get down. Like the shit, like the shit, like the shit. Big present bodies know just how to get down. Like the shit, like the shit, like the shit. Come on. Big present bodies know just how to get down. Like the shit, like the shit, like the shit. Big present bodies know just how to get down. Like the shit, like the shit, like the shit. Big present bodies know just how to get down. Like the
In beautiful 480p. Let me know if you want me to cut this if you don't want anyone to know about it. It is on YouTube though.
God.
If I just look
Dude,
Neil Carson.
That's fucking hilarious, man. That was a fucking high school joke.
I could tell.
Me and my twin brother and my friend, we did a series of videos on his fucking, I think it was like a flip video.
It looked like it.
camcorder, that old thing.
Top of the line.
Yeah, man. The original was called Big Bodies. I should also say as an aside.
Yeah, there's 4. There's 4 videos.
Yeah, there's 4 of them.
Verses.
Yep. And if you ever want to fucking see more goofy shit, go on YouTube and search, try and find this Burgers Brats.
Okay.
It's, Burgers-Brats. It's basically like me and my twin brother and my older brother, we have like a sort of like a comedy band. Like we write like goofy songs.
Relax the voice.
It's really hard to explain. We have a song.
I think you explained it right there.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything more. Just go check it out. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm glad you didn't immediately want to just kibosh that from existence.
I didn't imagine in a million years this would come up in this interview. That's fucking hilarious.
I only looked it up like today, and I'm like, well, of course I'm going to ask this because it's not that far down. I think I looked up Neil Carson, then I almost scrolled like 20 videos down, which if you're doing research isn't really that much. So just so you know, you might want to get into that account and do something about it or not.
Yeah, that shit's staying up.
Oh, awesome! Thank you, dude. It's got like 1.4 thousand million. No, 1,400 views, which is awesome. A beautiful time capsule of the internet. I was actually bringing it up. Well, one is it's awesome, but two, segue into like your brother Dan or Daniel.
Yeah.
Who you mentioned plays bass for the CSO. So yeah, what was it like having a musical brother, and now it's like you're both in these 2 worlds in such a deep way? What's that like? Man,
well, he's my identical twin, so
that's what got me too. I'm like, oh, hey, it's neat. Wait, what? There's a second one? I didn't know that before. That's how I found out that Body's video.
Oh my god, that's so funny, dude. Yeah, that must have tripped you out. I think around, like, we both got serious about music around like age like 11, 12, 13.
Okay.
And that was right when we started to diverge, me towards jazz and him towards classical. And it's almost like kind of like perfect because it fits so well with everything else about us being twins. We are like 2 sides of a coin. He's left-handed and I'm right-handed. He would admit this too. He's a very black and white thinker. I'm a very gray thinker.
Okay. That was actually one of the things I was wondering about is like what's your mentalities there when it comes to music? And that is like almost perfectly written.
Yeah. He's very much like, he cares so much about identifying his values, what he sort of like kind of like codes of ethics that he wants to live by. And he really, really very deliberately filters his actions and moves through the world by these codes, by these values. And he's got a really good sense of boundaries, and he's like, is not afraid to like draw a line and be like, that's not in accordance with, not in such a pedantic way. But me, by contrast, I'm the king of like, I don't know. I'm the king of saying like, I don't know what I think. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to speak on that. Like I think part of that is like I'm a people pleaser, and I definitely am afraid of saying the wrong thing, and I'm afraid of making a bad impression. It's a double-edged sword. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
It's the confidence. It's the confidence.
Yeah. Well, when I think the only thing I am fairly certain about is the music that I make. You know,
There you go.
It's new nostalgia. Yeah. I'm very, very confident about those things, but everything else is kind of fucked.
Yeah, just getting back into your sound in general with new nostalgia, but also just with the arrangements, because going back to that Indecent Exposure podcast, you guys were just talking straight about Steely Dan, which is awesome. It actually got me to listen more to Steely, because I knew like Ricky Don't Lose That Number, Reelin' in the Years, blah, blah, blah. But actually like, oh, okay, I don't know about the Fez. Like I didn't listen to that until a couple of weeks ago. So which I know for you was like, oh my God, really? But yeah, just getting into it. And then I compared it to your Fulton thing that you did a few years back under the Dayglow Freaks. I don't know if that's still an active thing. It's on YouTube. And just the way you elevated that song, because the original obviously is good. It's a good jam. It's got a little sex appeal to it, but it's kind of more like just a casual jam feel. But then you bring all these horns into it. I don't think it was a nonet, or maybe it was. I didn't count the instruments, but
dude, it was fucking.
Yeah, you had two more vocalists, including Alyssa.
Yeah,
Allgood.
man, it was like I think like 13 people total.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure, that felt right.
4 horns. Yeah. Huge band. And I've seen Steely Dan like 4 or 5 times live, and so they have a huge band for sure. But yeah, I think I try to I've always changed my mind about doing arrangements. I've like, as long as I've been doing covers, my attitude has always been so different. Like there's a part of me that's like, if we're going to do this, we have to do it differently. You don't just
what's the point? Or
yeah, you don't want to just regurgitate the record, know? But that's a tough line to walk, because, there's some songs on New Nostalgia's first album that are fucking bear zero resemblance to the originals. And,
correct.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't even call this that anymore,
I think probably It's My Life is probably my personal favorite. If anything, just for that sublime outro in like the last minute from the first album.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, dude.
I was like, I almost got frustrated, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm only going to get a minute of this? You could base a whole tune around this. Milk this for another 9 minutes, please. No, just the transformative aspect I really like. Because in the article I wrote on your guys' thing, I wrote, because there's a series of albums called like Jazz and 60s, Jazz and 70s, Jazz and 80s, blah, blah, blah. And they're like 4 to 3 minute covers, and they're all kind of the same thing. It's very hokey, and it's like, hey, we're gonna do Duran Duran, but it's like sexy and slow with like swing. And it's
dude, yeah, that fucking like cabaret shit.
Cabaret. Which no disrespect to the art of cabaret, but just the kind of mimicking that as the gimmick 12 times on a commercial album. The worst was Smoke on the Water. Don't listen to that, or listen to it just to beat the hell out of it. But
learn not what not to do. Yeah,
yeah. I don't like talking negative, but something about that really,
dude.
Really
yeah, man. Yeah, I remember my friend sent me like a smooth jazz Earth, Wind and Fire cover record. Yeah, dude, years ago.
I shouldn't be reflexive, but that doesn't sit right.
And like Fantasies on there, and it's like ba-da-da, ba-ba-da, ba-da-da, ba-ba-da, and it's like, it could work, but it just hella didn't. It was just so so bad. Yeah. So yeah, man, and I do want to say that like, with It's My Life, like that outro, like it's so good, because part of what makes it so amazing to me is because the musicians are doing so much more than what's on the page. Tim Sicer's bass playing, it's like, I think I wrote in a bass line there. for him to play, and he played it probably like the first two times the chart was in front of him. But by the time we played the record, he knew intuitively. He's like, dude, I can play. Let me just like, play with this, like get creative. And dude, I want him to do that every time. I want all the musicians to just like use their instincts, be like, okay, this is the vibe, but I know you can do this better than me. So just do your thing, Zach Marks's like groove, Andrew Lawrence's like fills that I could never, ever in a million years write on the page. All of them. The rhythm section is just like, they're all such intuitive players, and that's huge, You can't, as much as they are reading a lot of my notes, there's so much more that they add,
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have an overriding philosophy or vision when it comes to arranging, just in general, kind of like your own personal headcanon or rule book that, give and take for whatever tune you're actually working on, but just kind of overriding thing? Because the output of what I've heard from New Nostalgia so far it's a very like feel good, even if it's like a song that, technically shouldn't be feel good, but it still has this like refreshing aspect to it that some other groups, not even nonets, necessarily have or seem to emphasize as much. Because like to contrast it in a stark way, like Charles Mingus has like a menace into nearly everything he writes, or at least everything he's ever put out. Burt Bacharach has like a romantic side, a very cool romantic side. Do you have something like that you at least aware of?
Man.
To get real meta about your whole life's work.
That's a really, really good question. I feel like, no, I don't think so. I think it really depends. It depends on the project. Like, I think maybe I could say like with my original stuff, or like New Nostalgia stuff, which is, even if it's a cover, it's like almost an original. To me, I feel like all of that, I try to imbue all of that stuff with a certain kind of, maybe like, no, I can't even say it. I was going to say like bittersweet. Like emotionally, one of my favorite like things to feel in music is bittersweet, which is what nostalgia is. It's like that emotion, the combination of happy and sad, Tryin' might be a good example of that.
Because that was like what your big pandemic, I think they were all might have been pandemic songs, but when you were talking to Andy's to the crowd before you played it, you were like, yeah, how do you or like what was the story behind it that you were telling? It's like trying to do better, right?
I was like, how do you sum up your emotions during COVID when someone asks you how have you been, And I just would say, I'm just trying to be a person. That's something I actually said, But like, one of these days I should come up with like my list of like the most bittersweet songs. There's a song called "There Is a Light That Never Goes Out" by the Smiths. Do you know that song by chance?
I'm not too much into the Smiths. I know I've been meaning to check them out for a long time because of everyone else in my orbit. But no, I'm not.
Yeah, they have some bittersweet. A lot of songs by The Cure have some bittersweet in them. It's kind of like, it's how like I personally think that even a melody that's in like a major key, which a lot of musicians have been taught that that's like major equals happy, minor equals sad.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that even like the most major sounding melodies can have a sadness to them,
I think I was reading like a YouTube comment pointed this out to me, because there's a phenomenon on YouTube where it's like, hey, let's just take this song and just for the hell of it, it's not even going to sound good, but for the hell of it, what if it was minor? Just like perfectly, like we just tuned it all so that it was in the perfect minor key. May not even sound good, but what the hell? And then vice versa, minor to major. And one of them was, "Do you know my If I Saw You in Heaven?" Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton's is it called "If I Saw You in Heaven"? You know the two. Thank you. Tears in Heaven. Yeah. And that's a song in a major key, but it's the saddest freaking story in the world. If you know the story behind it, this kid freaking dying.
That's a really good example.
And it's like when the YouTube video switched it to minor, I'm like, all the comments were like, this doesn't work because it's just so sad that it doesn't have any impact anymore. It's like dirgy and so depressing. I don't even want to finish it. Right? It's like
it's too the phrase I would use is like it's too on the nose.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, but because sometimes, it's bittersweet. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I definitely try to avoid being too obvious with emotions in music. Yeah. I'm thinking like I was reading a review of Phil Collins, and one of the things that somebody described his lyrics as being inanely sincere, which I didn't even know what inane meant, but it's
I have to think about
stupid.
That.
Yeah, like stupidly sincere. It's like
silly, stupid. Yeah.
I love like music that's like heart on your sleeve, but I think there's a way to like overplay your hand emotionally. Yeah. Lyrically, musically. So it's gotta you gotta not give it all away, I think.
Yeah. That's a good point. But speaking of giving it all, that's not a good segue. Is New Nostalgia ready for a new album? Because I know you let out that single, the One for All single, which the opening reminded me a lot of the outro to In My Life, which is why I dig it a lot. And I think you even submitted it to NPR for the Tiny Desk.
We did. Yeah. Yep. Waiting to hear back about the Tiny Desk contest. Yeah. That would be amazing if we got to do that. I haven't checked out who all the winners have been, but I don't know that I don't know if they've had a ton of 9-piece bands. That's our appeal, is like we're 9 people, but we can cram in a fucking room and rock out, But we actually are recording this summer. We're in the process of booking sessions right now. We've got a ton of music that we haven't recorded yet, and I'm writing a bunch of new stuff right now too. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to be one big record. I've been thinking about doing a couple small EPs, mainly because we got a couple covers and we have some originals, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm actually curious what you would think about this. Like, would you personally prefer to hear a record that mixed them together, or would you like to hear an EP of all originals and then an EP of all covers,
Well, just knowing or at least being familiar with your approach and your previous releases, the band's previous releases, I would personally be cool with both. And then leave them guessing, leave the more uninformed guessing. It's like, is this a cover or is this a, but it all sounds the same. Not the same, but like, the stylistics are very similar. So that would be cool. And, and if, that would help that would help break now we're strategizing, we're just an 80s cover band stigma, and then also merge the message where it's like, no, nostalgia can be new shit, but also the past stuff as well. So hey, new nostalgia. There you go.
Yeah, man, exactly. Hey, well, that's it's something I've been thinking about, and so I appreciate the feedback for sure.
Whatever you decide to do. Last big thing that I'm dying to know. On your website bio, it says that you played with Barry Manilow. Please tell me more.
Oh, shit.
Because, hey, look, I don't even know if this should be a guilty pleasure. I like some Barry Manilow. Not going to lie. I love Copacabana. I love me some Andy. The America Bandstand theme for Dick Clark.
Man, dude.
Low-key love it.
Man, well, hey, more power to you, dude. I haven't checked him out a lot. But,
that's all right if you don't.
Yeah, no, I regret to say I don't have like a really fantastic story, but when I went to Frost, University of Miami, that school had a shit ton of money, and they brought in amazing guest artists all the time. Almost everybody you see on that bio is like people that I played with in college.
That's
Steve
awesome.
Miller, Dave Liebman, Desi Arnaz, all those folks. And Barry Manilow came in, and Um, I think back the way that those all went, those guest artist shows, Barry Manilow, no exceptions. Like he came in day of the gig. We had been rehearsing the music for weeks, and he walked on stage at his appointed time, and he ran shit once through everything, and he stood in front of the band, and we just kind of like ironed things out and kind of like got everything sounding clean. And then he was a nice dude. He didn't say anything even remotely memorable, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
He was just kind of like cracking a couple jokes, and he's like,
he's older. He's up there.
Yeah. He's just like, you guys sound great, and that was
Living
it.
the
Like,
life.
I didn't get to shake his hand. We did do a gig with Kevin Spacey, actually.
Okay.
And, yeah, and that was
Oh
weird.
yeah, he was doing. I mean, I think other than like the TV stuff, I remember him. Just I don't know why this popped in my head. He had hosted like a Thelonious Monk awards that Marquise Hill won. That's how I remember it. Like Marquise Hill won that year. I think it was Monk. Some Monk composition award or something on a national stage or something. And then like randomly Kevin Spacey was on the stage with all these other musicians and Marquise Hill.
Kevin Spacey does a really good Bobby Darin impression, actually.
He did a movie on as Bobby Darin and directed it, I think, too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we sang a bunch of Bobby Darin shit with Kevin Spacey, and Kevin made more of an impression. This was well before Downfall, but I do remember that at one point, like some stage manager came on stage and said to Kevin, like, "Excuse me, Kevin, we have like 15 minutes left, and we have to like get you in wardrobe or something like that." And Kevin just on the mic, just like looks her dead in the face and says, "Excuse me, I'm going to shoot myself." And that's what he said, and that was it. And I was like, okay, is he expressing like frustration at the time crunch? Is he reprimanding the stage hand for coming out and like talking to him in front of everybody? What the fuck does that mean? Excuse me, I'm going to shoot myself. So yeah, and at the time I was like, what a fucking dick, I don't know, but he was a great singer though. He fucking sang his tail off.
He's got a voice, and he's got a past.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to leave it there. Sorry for leading it there.
Oh, that's okay. No, you're good. It's all right. Yeah.
But if you had any pluggables, any upcoming shows, I know you got one at Martyrs soon.
Yeah, man, we're playing at Martyrs on May 11th with Left Jones, which is an awesome hip hop band, and Chofis, which is led by Chris Sanchez. I haven't heard really much of their stuff, but Chris is a fantastic drummer. Okay. We're doing that, and I think that's it for now. But thanks for the time. It's like really nice to chat with you. Thanks for checking out the music. It means a lot.
100%. And at New Nostalgia Songs with a Z.
Yes,
I believe.
New _nostalgia _songs.
No other way. Do we get free gushers if we follow? Because I saw that story where you're just throwing gushers at the crowd. That was awesome.
Dude, you get free gushers if you come to Martyrs.
Oh hell
or
yeah!
I'll pick a different candy.
That's got to be a tax write-off, right?
Oh yeah, dude, definitely. I definitely have the receipts. Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, Neil Carson, thank you so much for being the first musician I've interviewed in like 7 or 8 years. It's been an honor, and thank you for being there at Andy's.
Hey, right back at you, man. You're a fantastic interviewer. Great to talk to you.